Who will rise to the top of European RLCS? Can Team Vitality keep their crown? These questions and more will be answered this weekend when EU RLCS returns. And today, I will run you through my power rankings for the top 16 teams that made it to the main event. Sit back and relax as I let you know about what's new with the region and who to keep your eye on. I hope you enjoy. At number 16, I have Forward, a team consisting of Compact, Edgeby, and Simmons. Now, this is a squad of 3 veterans. They've all been in an RLCS regional before, but I don't have super high hopes. I do think they could make it out of the Swiss, but I think all the teams in Europe could potentially make it out of the Swiss if they got the right run. But I see it being the least likely of all with Forward. I think their open qualifier run wasn't particularly inspiring, although they obviously qualified. They lost Magnifico in a sweep, and I just don't have a lot of high hopes. I think if they do succeed, look to the youngest player on their roster, Simmons, an 18-year-old who's been on teams like Endpoint before, and I think if he pops off, if this squad really gels, that's their key to making it far in the Swiss or even to playoffs. At number 15, I have SUHHH, a roster consisting of Mike Boy, Though, and Tekos, 2 veteran players paired up with a rookie that has a lot of promise. That said, their promise wasn't realized in the open qualifier. They're the only team that made it to this main event that lost to a team that isn't here. SUHHH lost to T-Time, a team featuring Scrubkilla, and although it was a Game 5, that loss does hurt them a bit here. I'm not super high on them. Again, I do think they could make it to the Swiss if they got the right run, if they were gelling together, but I think it's not super likely. If they do succeed, look to Tekos. I think he really has a bright future, and he might be able to realize it here with this SUHHH roster, and if he does, maybe they make a deep run. At number 14, I have Team 3, a roster consisting of Catalysm, Mark by 8, and Rizex. Now, this is obviously some big names on the squad. These are all veterans headlined by Mark by 8, a major champion. But I think this team may be on a downswing. I'm not feeling too high after how they did in the open qualifier. They ultimately lost to WYLDE before qualifying from the lower bracket. So I think that they could do well in this event. I think they could go far. I mean, of all the teams I mentioned so far, they definitely have the highest ceiling. I just don't think they'll hit it. It really depends on, can Mark by 8 recapture his earlier form? Can Catalysm also get back on that form? These are major attendees, and again, my Mark by 8's case, a major winner. But they're going to have to rekindle that magic if they want to get far in this event. At number 13, I have Belligol, a team consisting of Hyder, Speed, and Temper. Now, on its surface, you think I'd put this team a bit lower, but I really think they have a shot at making it out of Swiss, most notably because they took Moist Esports to a Game 5. Now, although they did lose, it literally came down to an overtime. They nearly won at 0 seconds. It was an incredibly close match, and it kind of has me a bit high on this team, even though I think on paper they're a bit weaker than some of the teams around them. If they do succeed, I think you'll look to Temper. He's not quite a rookie. He's been in RLCS before, but I think he has the most to prove of these 3 players, and I think if he really shines, if they gel as a squad, they could go far. At number 12, I have 100%, a squad consisting of Breezy, Triton, and Crispy. Now, this team is the only team here that came from a lower bracket run. They started day 3 of the open qualifier from the lower bracket, and they fought all the way to make it to the regional. I've given them a bit of credit from that. Obviously, they lost earlier on, but I do think the fact that they could fight it out in the lower bracket and make it here is a big positive. I'm excited to see how the rookie Triton does. I think of the 3, he's the most interesting person on this squad. I think we'll have to see how he develops, if this team can really put it together, if they do want to go far in the Swiss, because it's definitely possible, but I think that it's gonna take showing a bit more than they had, especially off season. They struggled a bit, but I think they're improving. I think the open qualifier showed that, and I'd be excited to see how far they can make it this region. At number 11, I have Redemption, a team consisting of Astral, Ivan, and Cash. Now, obviously, these are huge names. Astral and Cash have been considered 2 of the best in Europe, if not the world, at times in their career. However, I think those times may be behind them. I think Redemption could make a deep run, potentially even get top 4, but it's hard to see it, especially when they lost a match in the open qualifier, and obviously they did qualify, they made it through the lower bracket, but still, I think losing that match to WYLDE has me a little bit shook in terms of confidence. It was a Game 5, and I know they can pull it out. That's why I'm putting them as high as 11, because to be frank, they haven't shown it yet, And this is really just riding on the fact that we know the peak that Cash and Astral can hit, Ivan as well, for that record. So if all three of them are peaking, if they're putting all the pieces together, they can make it far, but we'll have to see if they actually manage it. At number 10, I have WYLDE, a squad consisting of Tempo, WYLDE, and Rixie. WYLDE in particular is the rookie of the three. The other two have been to RLCS before, but this is on the whole a very young squad, and they managed to beat two other teams in the main event to get here, both of them veteran sides. Redemption and Team 3. Especially in the case of beating Redemption, it was a close game 5, but WYLDE pulled it out. They beat Astral's squad, and with it, I think they proved that they have what it takes to make playoffs in Europe. Now, the big question is, can they do it this time around? Can they do it consistently? I'm still not sure. That's why I have them as low as 10. I feel a little bad putting them that low when they qualified through the upper bracket. They didn't lose a game in the open qualifier, a match I should say, but it's just hard to rate them when we haven't seen them have that success in a main event yet when they're facing top side. So we'll have to see how WYLDE do. I think if they do succeed, look to their youngest player, Tempo. He's made an RLCS before, but this is probably his best team he's ever made the RLCS with. And I think the 16-year-old can pop off with this squad. If they can put it all together, they could be making a deep run. At number 9, I have Resolve, a team consisting of Noasaki, Lewis P, and Raziers. I think this team could do well in the regional, but it really all depends if they can put it all together and get things rolling. They played BDS and ultimately lost in the upper bracket of the open qualifier, but they did manage to snag a game, and I think that's really the key, is if they can get their game plan working in more than just one game, if they can start to take games in series off these top teams, that'll be how Resolve succeeds and makes it far in the events. But my main concerns are that they have, they are losing to teams like BDS, and I don't know if they'll be able to break into that upper echelon of Europe. That said, I do think they're going to be one of the more consistent teams this season. That's why I have them at 9, and I'm excited to see how they can do this event. At number 8, I have Magnifico, a team consisting of Atomic, Stizzy, and Tox. Now, this is a good side. I think they have all the cards to potentially make the major. I think this is the first team that is in that fight, in that battle to maybe, just maybe, make it to the first major of the season, but I think they're on the outside looking in. We'll have to see how they do this regional. They did well in the open qualifier. They did qualify through the upper bracket. They didn't drop a match, but I think they're going to need to be more consistent, especially when it comes to facing top squad, something they didn't have to do this open qualifier. And when they do run into those top dogs, I'm not quite sure they'll be able to beat them, as evidenced by flip and spin in off-season tournament. That said, again, they have all the pieces, especially if Atomic can, really shine. He's had off and on seasons. He's had off and on events, off and on days, games for that matter. But if he can really just, stick to a consistent high level, I know his ceiling is good enough, especially with these good teammates, Stizzy and Tox, that they could go far. We'll have to see what they do this regional. At number 7, I have Endpoint, a squad consisting of Arju, Matane, and Smokes. Now, this is a team that going into the open qualifier, I would have had a bit lower, but they absolutely showed up. They took on in the final rounds of the upper bracket Gentlemates and took them down. Yeah, that's right. A team consisting of Juicy, Itachi, and Seiko, a team that many expect to make the major, was beaten in a sweep by Endpoint. That's why I have them this high. Now, I do have them lower than a lot of the other teams around the top of the scene because I want to see if that was just a one-time fluke, a peak, or if they can consistently hit that level. But if they can consistently hit that level, the high, speed, the high rate of play, the passing, the really just all around solid performance against a squad like Gentlemates, we could be seeing Endpoint go far, potentially even the major. But like I said, they're really gonna have to prove that consistency before I rate them too much higher than this. But it's a really solid all-around squad. Arju, Matane, longtime pro, Smokes a vet as well, but he's a bit newer than the other two. I think that's the player I'm looking to elevate this squad. I think Smokes probably the highest ceiling of the three, and if he can really be that mechanical monster with a solid duo like Arju and Matane behind you, there's nothing Endpoint can't do. At number 6, I have Gentlemates. Now, I know I'm putting them above the team that just beat them, but this squad, as a reminder, consists of Juicy, Itachi, and Seiko. They have the skill, they have the ability to go far in this event and go far in this season. I think this is a team that is by far in the major race, and although I have them just outside right now, I think they have a better shot even than Endpoint despite the loss to them. I think maybe that's going to be a wake-up call, and hopefully it is. They did manage to qualify through the lower bracket, and I think if they can, sound the alarm, so to speak, and get their hours up, come in prepped and ready for this main event, I do expect they'll make it out of Swiss and potentially go far in the regional. We'll have to see what they do, though. If they do go far, I'm looking to Itachi. I know Seiko's the flashy player of the three, and Juicy's the youngest, the prodigy, but Itachi is that solid all-around player that I'm really looking to be a leader and be the pin that holds this whole thing together and really can elevate Gentlemates to the levels Itachi elevated Karmine Corp. And I think if the offense is running through him, if his squad is flowing around Itachi, I think they could see some success, but they're going to need to put whatever struggles they had in that Endpoint series behind them. We'll have to see how they do this event. At number 5, I have Moist Esports, a squad consisting of Joyo, Oli, and Rezi. And this is where it really starts to sink in just how much it hurts to cut this major spots for Europe from 5 to 4, as this is a team that could easily be making the majors, but I'm not sure they'll get there, especially when the spots have been cut by 1. I have Moist just outside that major spot right now, but they are certainly in the race. I think Joyo, of course, is a major caliber player, and if he can carry this squad along with him, now, no, by no means are Oli and Rezi slouches, but I think Joyo is going to be doing the heavy lifting on this squad, and if they can put it all together, they certainly could be getting consistent top 4s or even better in these regionals. And that's exactly what's going to have to happen. I think we're going to need to see Rezi and Oli step up and play at Joyo's level if this squad wants to go far. That said, I think there's a lot to look forward to. They made it through the upper bracket. Now, they did have a bit of a scare. They went to game 5, but they managed to get the job done, get here through the upper bracket, and I'm excited to see what they do this event. At number 4, I have Team BDS, a roster consisting of Monkey Moon, Drawley, and Exotic. Now, this is a squad I do think will make the major, and they're obviously in the fight to do so, though no guarantees. And I think my biggest question mark, and the reason I don't have them higher than 4, is Drawley. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Drawley, the rookie, by the way, of the 3 of the other 2 veterans, I know Drawley can be, at the level, and he probably will be, but I'm not quite certain yet. I want to see more out of BDS. They did well in the open qualifier. They made it through the upper bracket. They only dropped a game to resolve, but I still need to see more against the other top teams. They didn't show anything in flip and spin, although obviously that was early. They've had a lot more time to develop, but I want to see that. I want to see what the development, what fruits that's brought. And I think if they want to, be one of the top teams, a team that's winning regionals in Europe, they're going to need to level up a bit from what I've seen. And it has to be said that the guy to carry him there will probably be Monkey Man. He is one of the best players in the world, has been for quite a while. And if he can regain, that top 5 title, or even the title of the best player in the world, he'll carry his team up there right along with him. So we'll have to see how BDS do this regional. At number 3, I have Oxygen Esports, a team consisting of Archie, Ixo, and Oski. Now, this squad, some might think is high at 3, but I have my reasoning. Not only did they breeze through the open qualifier, where they made it through the upper bracket, not dropping a game on day 3, they also did quite well in an off-season tournament in North America, of all places. They cruised through their way to a Oxygen Invitational tournament win, where they beat G2 among other top North American teams. And I think that win among, their performance in the open qualifier puts them a spot here in a major berth in Europe. Now, it's no guarantee they're in that fight, and I don't think they're one of the best 2. I don't think we're going to be seeing them, winning a regional per se, but I think they're one of the best teams out of this region. I think they're going to be consistent. My main concern about that consistency probably would be Archie. He has a really high ceiling, but we've seen it on teams he's been on before. Sometimes they struggle. He'll make majors, but now that there's one less spot, maybe that's in question. And often when they get there, Archie can struggle on land. I think that's going to be counterbalanced by a player like Oski, who is a beast on land. But we'll have to see how Oxygen do, especially in region and really where they place in this main event. At number 2, I have Team Vitality, the roster consisting of Alpha 54, Radosin, and Zen. Now, yes, call me crazy. This is the reigning world champion roster. What am I doing putting them at 2? But I have my reservations about them being the number 1 team right now in terms of like power ranking. I think if they were to play a straight up match against the number 1 squad, who you can probably guess at this point, I think they'd lose. Yes, they're the reigning world champions. Yes, it's Zen. They had the perfect split, all that. It's all true. And they certainly could have another perfect split. I could be proven completely wrong, and I'd be ready to eat that, because obviously this squad is very good. They could be winning the regionals. I have no doubt in my mind they could win this and every regional. But I think the team above them has proven that they have perhaps the better accumulation of talent. In the Flip and Spin tournament, which was just an off-season tournament, Karmine Corp beat Vitality with a sub. So I'm not super high on Vitality right now. Obviously, I mean, I'm high on them. I have them at 2 in the region, and I think that that's actually crazy enough as it is to say. I think that's their floor. I see their floor as a grand final, and I think anything less than a grand final is probably a disappointment for Vitality. But even with that as their floor, I don't quite have them as the number 1 team this regional, or this season really. We'll have to see, but like I said, it's a really solid team. It's Zen. I mean, what more needs to be said? The supporting cast around him is more than enough. Alpha 54 and Radosin, many considered top 10 players, at least in Europe, if not the world. And I think they'll continue to show that high, presence. I think they're going to be stomping the teams they're supposed to stomp. But I think when you get to the tippity top, they might struggle against some of their, more even competitors. That said, I do think they'll comfortably make the major. I think this is one of only 2 teams in the region that I can say will be in the major, and I do think Vitality is one of them. I think it's not going to be a question of, if they make the major. It's a question of, are they the 1 seed or not? And to answer that question, let's get to our next team. At number 1 is Karmine Corp, the squad consisting of Vatira, Atau, and Rise. Now, this is a star-studded lineup. You got Vatira, a player who has been and probably will be again the number 1 player in the world. You got Atau, a player that took Liquid to high highs, including top 4 at the recent World Championship. You've got Rise, same deal. He joined BDS and took them from missing majors all the way to 2nd place at the World Championship. These are 3 top-tier players, and I think together they might be enough to beat the super team that is Vitality. Now, call me crazy, but I think the main, selling point behind that is what happened this offseason. Now, again, just an offseason tournament, but Flip and Spin was a LAN in Paris, and Karmine Corp, with a sub, Nolly subbing in for Atau, managed to take down Vitality. I think Atau, I think most would agree, is an upgrade from Nolly, so I think as long as they can capture a similar camaraderie, a similar team environment as they did with Nolly, which I have no doubt they will, I think they'll succeed. It's also worth mentioning, I don't normally talk about coaches in these type of power rankings, but Karmine Corp managed to snag Farah, the coach of Vitality. He coached Vitality to a world championship. Now he's on Karmine Corp. And yes, Vitality have a great replacement coach, Fairy Peak, but I still think managing to snag that coach, I think it's going to mean more than people realize. I think he was a bigger part of Vitality's success than people were giving him credit for. And I think joining on with Vatira, Atau, and Rise, I think they'll be able to take that crown away from Vitality this regional and make it to the first major as the 1 seed out of Europe. That said, it is no guarantee. They're in a dogfight with Vitality. The only thing I will say is I think they're pretty much a lock to make the first major. I think they're one of those 2 teams, like I said, along with Vitality, that is a lock to make the major from Europe. And same as Vitality, I see their floor as that grand final. I think if they miss the grand final, they're disappointed, and they frankly probably should be disappointed based on the star-studded lineup they've built here. We'll have to see, though, what happens. Let me know in the comments, am I crazy? Should Vitality be the number 1 team? Should it be Karmine Corp? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Far from perfect, these are my thoughts, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll be doing more of these as the season progresses. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my members, my channel members. I thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.